That's a clown question, bro. So I'm just quoting my boy Bryce Harper, who's no longer Washington National, took the most money and went to Philly. Good luck. If he doesn't hit, he's going to get booed relentlessly there. Philly fans are tough city. Anyways, though, I mistakenly, stupidly watched 10 minutes of CNBC earlier today, and I'm doing this rant because I feel I have to. I didn't plan on doing it, but I feel like I have to do it because someone has to call them out on their bullshit, their lies, their economic propaganda, their total garbage. And it's almost all the talking heads at CNBC. I have spoken with Michelle Caruso Cabrera in the past. She is a conservative, small government type of person. She wrote a book about it. She sent me a signed copy of the book, so thank you, Michelle. I doubt she'll listen to this podcast, but, the Jim Cramers, the Mad Money people, it is ridiculous, okay? The 10 minutes, 15 minutes I watched of CNBC earlier today, every single news story or current event, whether the news story was actually supposed to be neutral or bearish or not bullish at all, any little way possible, it was spun to be market bullish. And on top of this, in the last 15 or 20 minutes on my Twitter, I just got harassed by a paid promotional tweet from Jim Cramer and his Mad Money on CNBC, and he is pumping a stock on Twitter, and I'll read the tweet. A craft store that can rival Amazon. Jim Cramer has his eye on Etsy, ETSY. So, someone tell me why Jim Cramer can pump, stocks like this on Twitter. Is it because the SEC doesn't give a shit? and then you have honest short sellers who do good research going on CNBC like Carson Block of Money Waters talking about Tesla, and the talking heads on there, probably from the microphone with the assistant producer, are just saying they're character assassinating. They're not countering any of his arguments. So Elon Musk, it's been proven he's a liar. Okay, the SEC settlement where he doesn't fully admit guilt, but come on. I mean, we know he lied with the funding secure tweet and a bunch of other guidance promises and all this other stuff over the years. He's lied a bunch of times. And this talking head on CNBC was just bashing the crap out of Carson Block, saying you're making all this stuff up, you have no proof, and all this other stuff. So CNBC, full spin. Bloomberg does the same thing. I told you this a couple weeks ago in another live stream. Same thing on Bloomberg Radio. Any piece of economic data, even if it's bad, with the Australian housing crisis, it was spun to be bullish somehow. I don't remember the exact details of how they tried to spin it, but it is ridiculous. So I responded to this Jim Cramer tweet. I quoted his paid promotional tweet. God knows how much money he paid, but the CNBC team of lawyers is probably covering his ass. But I said, why is this highly paid clown show pumping another stock? But this time with a promoted tweet. Because he already has his show to pump stock. Why the hell is he paying to pump stock on Twitter? To pump a stock on Twitter? Do you guys like the economic cartoon? So I called some crowdsourcing from some of my loyal listeners. We got 3 people, and 2 of them told me they do not want their names mentioned on the podcast. We got 3 people total to submit some photoshopped Cramer the Clown photos. I think this one looks really good. What do you guys think about this? D's Nuts says, hey Jason, I'm getting off my fat ass and riding my bike to Walmart while you bitch in my ear. I think this rant is deserved, man. He's pumping a stock on Twitter. He pumps these stocks on TV. He's a pumper, a highly paid pumper. And then he has this bullshit charity. There's just so many conflicts of interest. It's ridiculous. I have to give you some examples of this, of Cramer's ridiculousness and hypocrisy. He's a smart guy, first of all, but he's morally bankrupt. There is video out there from about 15, 20 years ago. It's in the Wall Street for Main Street Facebook group. You can find it, where when he was a hedge fund manager, Jim Cramer said exactly when he was a hedge fund manager, how he manipulated markets to make extra money. And then his first book, which I think has a 1-star review, which came out, he looks like a total psychopath on the cover of the book, and it's Jim Cramer's Mad Money, Watch TV, and Get Rich. Yeah, if we could only watch TV and get rich. Oh my god. It's so ludicrous. Hopefully one of those 3 people or more people who are talented artists or good with Photoshop or one of those other programs will step up and make some even funnier Wall Street for Main Street fan art. I want to personally thank the 3 people that took the time to go and submit the fan art. I think this is one of the better ones. There's another really good old school clown one with Cramer. I may show that one off. It's in the all the fan art that has been submitted is all in the Wall Street for Main Street Facebook group, but I think I'll be occasionally putting it as the background on more of my videos. Do you like this one? Do you think this one's funny? Watch this. I get a cease and desist letter from that asshole. He does have a Harvard Law School degree. You know what's funny? When I was learning about investing, I did read either his background. I think I may have read 1 or 2 of his books in the past. And I think even though he has a Harvard law degree and he worked at Goldman Sachs, I think at one point he was sleeping in his car, some weird stuff. He's had kind of a weird life of sorts. Opposed deception says, trust none of those clowns, do your own research. Exactly. And when they bring on a credible person, like a Carson Block, Muddy Waters Research, look at that guy's track record for picking out companies where there's fraud and the Chinese reverse merger scams. I mean, he nailed the crap out of those. And they're not giving him any credit. They're just calling him out like he's a liar and he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's just totally ridiculous. No boiler room. What is the CNBC counter indicator? Scott Cramer is a highly paid puppet. I don't know exactly how much he makes, but he has to make a lot. He has to make way over $1 million. DSV Duong says, I'm one of the best. Thank you for all you do. I appreciate the extra super chat, man. That was the goal when I started all this. I've gotten better each year. Pat, I completely agree. Integrity has no place on Wall Street or the mainstream media. There are a minority of people with integrity, but normally they don't rise through the ranks. So they kind of get... It's not Peter principled. It's the exact opposite of Peter principle. It's like the reverse Peter principle. So they may find some success and they may get like people respect them and get some contacts, but they're not going to be allowed to get promoted to the top levels of running these investment banks or things like that. And have you noticed this too recently with Warren Buffett for over a decade now, that a lot of his investments, in air quotes, are like secret crony deals on inside information with his board of directors and other stuff, or there's an accounting scandal or fraud scandal within a couple years of him making a big investment into a company. D's Nuts says, wasn't he homeless once? He may have been. He was living out of his car. He admitted that. He was, I think before he got hired by Goldman Sachs, he dropped out of school. I think he dropped out of college. But I think he graduated from Harvard. I can't remember if it was undergraduate or Harvard Law or both. I forget his background. It was so long ago, and I just don't pay attention to him anymore. But it's just getting ridiculous because I'm on Twitter, and then they're bombarding my Twitter feed with his ads. It's just ridiculous. Boiler Room, I'm glad you liked the clown. So that was good effort by the 3 people who submitted the Wall Street for Main Street fan art. Maybe we should try doing some fun ones with Elon Musk next. Maybe some funny ones. Showing him like going clubbing or something. Or like drugs falling out of his pocket. I don't know. Or him like falling asleep in the backseat of an autopilot, of his Tesla on autopilot with drugs. I don't know. Something funny like that. Although I hear he does go after people. So he goes after people online. He's a cyberbully. So I'm not sure if I should do that. Not sure if I want that type of attention. Black Labs Matter. Okay, dog fan here. Thank you for the super chat donation. Along the spectrum, he asked a question. Along the spectrum of Rome's collapse, where are we? 90%. It's above 75. It's been above 75 for a couple decades. We are very close to 90%. But things can drag on because, I mean, there's a great... If you're a Real Vision TV subscriber, I know they have such great content. It's worth the money now. The price has dropped. But they just interviewed Kyle Bass again today, and he goes through all the problems with China. And, you know, China has really screwed things up the last 10 years. China may have, Kyle Bass lays out the case where China may have below $2 trillion or less in total reserves now. And Jim Rickards has said repeatedly, according to his research, that when China had $4 trillion of reserves, that $2 trillion or half of China's reserves at the time were illiquid. So they had committed and earmarked a full $1 trillion to the One Belt, One Road project, and they were going to spend that money because it was a jobs program. And, you know, debt traps and bullying politicians and governments in other countries to get resources and ports and stuff like that with debt traps. And then the other $1 trillion that Jim Rickards says was illiquid was like in hedge funds, private equity, sovereign wealth funds, and it couldn't be liquidated without collapsing asset markets. So basically, China has a good amount of U.S. Treasury still. They have some. They're not totally out of it. And China's total reserves are down a lot. And Kyle Bass basically said that China's drastically overstating their total reserves now. Now, he is short RMB, so China can play games with the currency. But the funny thing is, I'm going off tangent a little bit, but the MMT people that I knew when I first woke up, I was friendly with like a handful of MMT people from like 2008 to 2010, and when they weren't arguing with each other like crazy and calling each other names and stuff like that, and a lot of them were really hardcore socialists and hardcore Marxists, but they were telling me like repeatedly, it was one of the few things most of these MMT people actually agreed on at the time, that China was the perfect MMT model. that the dream for the MMT people 10 years ago when I was talking to them were like, China's such a success. Look at China. Everything China's doing is great right now. And they were telling me that that is the future of MMT. Well, if that's the future of MMT, I mean, the problems that I've heard from China, from, you know, hedge fund people who have access to the most expensive research, and the China vloggers that are on YouTube that I've told you guys about, that, by the way, the Chinese government is kicking a lot of those guys out, or they're leaving because their families are threatened. So if that is the future of MMT, MMT is a JOKE. China has done what Japan did in a shorter amount of time, and China is even more of a mess than Japan. And I think the Japanese people have, as a whole, have far more morality. Oh, and this is the same Jim Cramer, I forgot one more thing, that he said this on Tuesday, February 12th. He said, don't let Wall Street convince you that there's a Fed-induced bubble. Yeah, the Federal Reserve has never created bubbles. That's right, Jim Cramer. Dude, Jim Cramer's a smart guy. He has really good degrees. He knows better. He's just fucking lying, okay? It's in his incentive. He is incentivized to lie. He is part of the control system. He's part of the economic propaganda, mainstream financial media control system. Every single piece of economic data that is either neutral or not super bullish, or only mildly bullish, or somewhat bearish, or very medium bearish, or very bearish, is spun now. And it seems I can't even handle the mainstream financial media on Bloomberg Radio or Bloomberg TV or CNBC, really. I can handle like small doses if there's like a good interview on from like Stanley Druckenmiller or something, but even then you have like these interview guys that are often total assholes interrupting them and ruining the interview. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. So like Stanley Druckenmiller, if you let the guy speak for many minutes, you could learn so many things from them. Instead, they're getting interrupted and called out for screw-ups and all this other stuff. Okay, so I just wanted to do a really quick rant here about Cramer and show you guys that cool Photoshop, the Wall Street for Main Street fan art, let's call it. And thanks again, hat tip to the 3 people who did submit stuff, and maybe we'll get more Cramer the Clown Photoshops coming in. I think you can be creative and fun with this, and the good ones I will show as backgrounds on videos or post in the Wall Street for Main Street Facebook group. And, you know, maybe we should go after Elon Musk next. Although if we go after him, like I said, he is a cyber bully, so I'm not sure that's the best idea. If anyone has any other suggestions of people we can do satire on, let me know. Okay, well, that's it for today's show. It's just a really short show. Nothing too super special. Gold, of course, got bombed. The dollar index is, let me take a quick look. The VIX is down a lot. It's down to 13.57. So a couple weeks ago, it was like at 16 or 17. It's down even more because Wall Street is starting to get bearish on stocks again, which is stupid to me, considering all the problems in Europe and China and all these and emerging markets. But I think a lot of that is on hopes and dreams about what the Federal Reserve will do. And that will help the stock market, which is not fundamentally driven. It's just QE and liquidity driven to move the stock price up. So that's the stock market is just becoming more and more divorced from fundamental reality. And it just seems to get worse like every couple months now at this point. The dollar index is still above 96 at 96.46. But gold and silver did get bombed. I don't expect gold and silver to go a ton lower. If they do go lower, the miners, a lot of the primary gold and primary silver miners still have immense problems. Nothing has been fixed with their operations. And the oil market has started to rally. So with the oil market starting to rally, that's not going to help the margins of the miners. So even though we have had a rally in metals prices, with the oil market and diesel prices starting to rally, that is not going to help the margins for the miners. Okay, guys, well, that's it for this short little show. I didn't want to do it too long. I just wanted to get something out there on CNBC, a little rant on CNBC or CNBS and Jim Cramer and Mad Money, because it's just getting ridiculous how much he pumps stuff at this point. Okay, well, we'll end the show now. Bye, guys. Have a great weekend.